What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C4, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of Eagles Fifth Down. This is kind of a revisit, if you will, of an earlier video where we talked about, we'll just make this a revision of every video we've talked about Dak Prescott versus Carson Wentz and Carson Wentz as a whole. So first, I made one video comparing the two, and this is going to be a returning to that and seeing, obviously, things have changed. Where we're at with that. Also, I made a video that was highly controversial where I said quarterbacks I would take over Carson Wentz, and there wasn't a whole lot. I think I had maybe half dozen plus, maybe eight or less quarterbacks that I would take over Carson Wentz, and that still remains the same. I don't see, literally he throws high a little bit, but outside of that, for his age, for the tools that he has, Carson Wentz is going to be a great quarterback in the NFL. I'm not going to come out and say he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but as Carson Wentz, if we get the talent around him, a quarterback that you can easily, it's not some far figment of your imagination. You could easily see Carson Wentz being a quarterback that can get this team consistently to the playoffs. So that video there. I don't need to come back and rehash on that. I would still take Carson Wentz over the majority of the quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm not the only one. Go literally look at any video. I've seen probably 3 or 4, be it on ESPN or NFL.com. You ask any of these experts what quarterback they want to take to start a franchise today. I think I saw 3 out of 6 that took Carson Wentz as their starting quarterback. I didn't see Dak Prescott on there. It pretty much came down to I saw a lot of Wentz. I saw a lot of Mariota. Winston was there. I think there was a Dak. And then you still got the people that are still going with Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, and Andrew Luck. But for the most part, or Derek Carr. But for the most part, this video here, I want to kind of talk about Wentz versus Dak Prescott part 2, because that is the most common thing I have seen, not only on some of my videos from the Dallas Cowboy homers, but you see it on Reddit, you see it on Eagles Facebook pages, you just see people like, Wentz was looking good. There's still two sides to it. I came out and said Wentz is a better quarterback than Dak. Sure, I have my involvement in this debate, but I've never come out and said Dak was a shitty quarterback. You can never... The biggest thing that I want to get out of the way before I jump into this comparison is the worst thing to do is to shit on Dak Prescott for his situation. It wasn't his fucking fault that he got... Tony Romo got hurt, and then he got projected into this lineup, this team that was built to win the Super Bowl. Like, if Dallas Cowboys was doing as good as they were right now with Tony Romo, which I firmly believe they would be, there wouldn't be nearly a debate, because it's Tony Romo. They're expected to win. Dak Prescott, on the other hand, you can't hold it against him. You can't use it as a tool against him directly, that he's only good because of offensive line. He's only good because of his running back, his wide receivers, which I'm going to get into because that's the big discussion where I'm comparing Wentz and Dak Prescott. But you can't hold it against him. He's a solid quarterback. That's the thing. Wentz is a good quarterback. Dak will be a solid quarterback. You can just see from the way they play that, anytime Dak has got under any good pressure, anytime his offensive line, his incredible offensive line, has failed him, you've seen him struggle. And if he was on any other team that didn't have, the best offensive line in the NFL, you would see a lot more teams getting pressure on him, and that's where you'd see the struggles that we're seeing in Philadelphia with Carson Wentz. It's the same struggles you see across the board with any rookie quarterback. Dak Prescott is a product of his environment, but you can't say that product sucks because of the environment. It's like, if it doesn't make sense. It's like saying, for example, Michael Thomas. That's a prime example. Good wide receiver from Ohio State. I kind of shit on him during the draft process, but he's been the best rookie wide receiver this year. Are you going to shit on him just because he's in New Orleans and he's in a pass-heavy offense? You can't do that. It's not his fault. You can't discredit the talent or the player or the person himself because he's on a good team. You can, if you're trying to compare him with players, you certainly can do that. But to outright say Dak Prescott sucks, he's just a product of the Dallas Cowboys, is pretty... I think that's too harsh. You're not going to hear that from me. As much as, because at the end of the day, I like to back my SEC quarterbacks. I'm an SEC homer, and to see Dak Prescott doing well, unfortunately for the Dallas Cowboys, gives me hope that this SEC football conference that has not produced very many good quarterbacks can still do that, and hopefully maybe we get one at Florida. But let's jump into the debate. Enough of that. So, Carson Wentz versus Dak Prescott. No matter what, Dak Prescott can win the motherfucking MVP this year, and you still will not be able to convince me that he is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz just from mechanics. Carson Wentz throws a little bit high, but he has the mental game. He's a better arm. He's more accurate. Better size. Everything. Carson Wentz, leadership. I'm not going to diss Dak. I'm not saying Dak has bad leadership, but the way that Carson Wentz has already taken command over this team is a little bit more significant than what Dak Prescott has had to do and kind of put on his shoulders there in Dallas. Really, the only adversities he's had to go through was through the quarterback controversy with Tony Romo coming back. And hell, he didn't even have to deal with that because Tony Romo came out and made a press conference and kind of said, hey, don't worry about this. Don't make this distraction. I'm going to be the backup, which, good for him. So, Wentz on the year, 5-7, 63% completion, 2,900 yards, 12 touchdowns, 10 picks, 97 yards rushing, 1 touchdown, 3 fumbles. Dak Prescott, 11-1, 67% completion, 2,900 yards, 19 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 217 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns, and 3 fumbles. So, statistically speaking, the only big difference is the lack of turnovers really for Dak Prescott. I'd say that's the only clear thing. The touchdowns are similar enough that you could say that they're close, but Wentz has 10 picks, Dak has 2. He's turned the ball over less. The reason why I'm mentioning this is just the broad scope. Look at where their 2 seasons are going. Why does Dak, C4, you said Wentz is a better quarterback. Why does Dak have less interceptions? It's quite simple. He never has any pressure. It's so easy. Teams are 100% stacking the box against his running back. We're just throw out the window right now that the Dallas Cowboys offense is 10 times better than the Eagles offense. The players around him are way better. The timing, man. Any quarterback would have success. I'm not going to say they'd have better success than Dak Prescott. I'm not going to discredit him like that. But any quarterback would have success behind that offensive line that is capable. You saw last year that offensive line struggled a little bit because you literally had a not starting caliber, not even backup caliber fucking quarterback playing. You literally had this turnstile of guys that were proven that can't hold down a job in the NFL. If you had Mark Sanchez, a guy that has got his opportunity, and you had Mark Sanchez behind that offensive line, I'm going to say they're still within the ballpark of the numbers. If you took Alfred Morris, the backup running back, and Mark Sanchez, the backup quarterback, and that's what you rolled for the Dallas Cowboys behind that offensive line, I'm going to say there's still 9 wins. You still got the very similar record. You're still going to be top of the NFC East. I'm not going to really make a ballpark on stats. I think running the ball, honestly, I think quarterback Dak Prescott is better than Mark Sanchez and would have better stats. But I honestly believe that if you had Ezekiel Elliott swap out for Alfred Morris would be leading the league in rushing. I'll tell you that for goddamn sure. Giving that amount of touches, still having a talented running back. Hell, Alfred Morris, the backup running back on Dallas, is probably better than any running back we have in Philly right now. He's not as versatile as Darren Sproles, but he's probably better and more productive than any running back that we have. So let's compare the players around them, because that is the real moot point here. What makes it really difficult, and anytime you try to say Dak Prescott is better than Carson Wentz, and you fail to acknowledge that the situations are entirely different, you don't even bother talking to me. Carson Wentz is starting running back this year for most of the games. Ryan Matthews has been hurt. It's Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles has 700 total yards, rushing and receiving, and 2 touchdowns. Dak Prescott's running back, Ezekiel Elliott, 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns. That must be nice, huh? Team stacking the box to stop the actual weapon of this offense, so that makes Dak Prescott's life a whole lot easier. So the running backs, they're not even the same. You can't even compare them. It's Dallas Cowboy runs away with this. Looking at the wide receivers, oh boy. Carson Wentz, wide receiver 1. Jordan Matthews, 57 receptions, 600 yards, 685 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's made 0 Pro Bowls in his career. Wide receiver 2 is Dorial Green-Beckham, 33 receptions, 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 Pro Bowls in his career. Wide receiver 3, Nelson Aguilar, 31 receptions, 290 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 Pro Bowls, and Pro Football Focus's worst-ranked wide receiver in the NFL in 2016. Tight end 1, Zach Ertz, 47 receptions, 450 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 Pro Bowls. There is nothing there. Even Jordan Matthews' stat line, he's been banged up a little bit. We're going to talk about the Cowboys, and Dez Bryant has been banged up a little bit as well, so I guess you could say our 2 top 1 wide receivers have been hurt. Not one wide receiver there has a nice stat line. Not one wide receiver has been able to beat their covers. Not one wide receiver has been productive. Not one wide receiver on this team or tight end has helped Carson Wentz out one goddamn bit. Dak Prescott, wide receiver 1. Dez Bryant, 37 receptions, 640 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's made 2 Pro Bowls. So already the best wide receiver in comparison to both these teams is on Dallas. Wide receiver 2, Cole Beasley, 60 receptions, 670 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 Pro Bowls to his name. Still better than everyone else on the Eagles. Wide receiver 3, Terrence Williams, 29 receptions, 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 Pro Bowls. Honestly, Terrence Williams would probably be in competition. The wide receiver 3 for Dallas would be in competition on Philadelphia Eagles for the starting job. I don't think Terrence Williams is that great. It's not a guy that I would really, want to target, especially when he didn't run out of bounds. I can't remember. I think that was against the Giants. Oh, I forgot. I just mentioned the 3 wide receivers, right? Tight end 1, Jason Witten, a Hall of Famer. 10 Pro Bowls to his name, 52 receptions, 550 yards, 2 touchdowns. That fucking old-ass man is better than our young, oh my God, hold out hope that Zach Ertz can finally turn around and have his big breakout season, where he still does not have even nearly as good of a stat line as old man Witten. So there's literally, I can't see one thing. Like, looking at the stats, our best wide receiver would be the wide receiver 3 on the Dallas Cowboys. Jordan Matthews would fall behind Dez Bryant and Cole Beasley. That is what we're working with. That is what Carson Wentz, every time he drops back behind a fucking Patrick offensive line, which will be the last point in this video, comparing the offensive lines, our best target for Carson Wentz to throw the ball would be Dak Prescott's 3rd read on the Dallas Cowboys. Not even the 3rd read. Maybe the 4th read after Jason Witten. He'd be his 3rd read if he's looking for wide receivers. 4th read after Jason Witten. How can you compare the stats? The turnovers especially. Even the touchdowns. Dak Prescott has guys that can make plays. Guys that can win jump balls. Guys that can actually beat their corner in coverage. Eagles don't have that. The only time the Eagles ever have a big-time play is some gimmicky screen pass behind the line of scrimmage getting a guy into open space. It's fucking embarrassing. Literally, okay, here's a good thing. I've seen enough Cowboys games. Literally, the only way we get big plays is how you guys use Lucky Whitehead. That's the only way our wide receivers can make big plays. So right now, running back, not even close in comparison for what Carson Wentz is working with. Wide receiver, not even close with what Carson Wentz is working with. Let's finish out here with the offensive line. It's kind of getting long here, but it needs to be said. This video needs to be out there just for the sake of my comment section. Because I want the record to be clear. I've never shit on Dak Prescott. I've never discredited him. I've never talked shit that he's only a product of his team. He's a good player. Carson Wentz is better. That's all I want to say, and this is why. Offensive line, last point. Carson Wentz, left tackle has been Jason Peters. He maybe might make the Pro Bowl, and that'd be off name recognition. He's had a solid year this year, but he might have a shot at Pro Bowl. He also has the most false starts in the NFL this year. Left guard, we've had a swinging door of Alan Barbary and Isaac Seumalo. Alan Barbary's nothing more than a journeyman. He's played decent, I guess, this year. And Seumalo's been a mid-round rookie. That should not be starting at all. So that has been a turnstile left guard. Center, we got Jason Kelsey, who's been incredibly hot and cold this year. He's Pro Football Focus's worst starting center for like the first half of the season. He's started to put it together here a little bit the last 3-4 games. But overall, he'd probably break even. He's been hot. He's had just as many awful games as a center as he has had good ones. Right guard has been Brandon Brooks. He's been actually pretty solid. Probably the best offensive lineman on this team. He's graded out fairly well to Pro Football Focus, but he's missed, I think, 2 games already. I mean, every team deals with injuries. I know Dallas Cowboys had their fair share of injuries, but still, Brandon Brooks, he's not ever going to be a Pro Bowl level player, I don't think. I think he could be a fringe Pro Bowl player, but based off of this season alone, which is what I'm just trying to use as a general scope, he doesn't have a shot at making the Pro Bowl. And then at right tackle, we've had Hal Vaitai, a 6th-round fucking project player, start games because Lane Johnson's been suspended. So the right tackle spot has been absolute shit show. Left guard has been a shit show. That's what we have here. Maybe Jason Peters makes the Pro Bowl. Maybe. Let's take a look at this offensive line for the Dallas Cowboys. Left tackle Tyron Smith. He's making the Pro Bowl. Likely he'll make All-Pro. One of the best left tackles in the NFL. Still, I'd say he's nearing the end of his prime, but he's still right there, man. So we got left tackles already starting with a Pro Bowl All-Pro. Left guard Ron Leary, he's solid. He might make the Pro Bowl on name value, just in case of like all the Dallas Cowboys vote in all their entire offensive line. But he's solid. Ronald Leary is better than who we have at right guard. Ron Leary is better than Alan Barbary or Isaac Seumalo. So there's 2-0 on the offensive line. Center, they have Travis Frederick, Pro Bowl, All-Pro likely. He's definitely gonna make the Pro Bowl, and I don't think I've seen a better center this year. I don't think Pro Football Focus, like I said, I don't like to use Pro Football Focus that much, but it does come in handy when you're trying to debate offensive lines because they do take in and grade those guys. Travis Frederick's probably going to be Pro Bowl All-Pro. Right guard Zach Martin, probably Pro Bowl All-Pro. I think all these guys are going to make Pro Bowl, maybe except Ron Leary. But Zach Martin, they potentially have 3 All-Pros, which means the 3 best players on the offensive line at their individual positions. That's what Dak Prescott's working with. And then you got Doug Free. He's solid, and I think he probably will make the Pro Bowl. He's not an awful right tackle, but he's kind of bordering lining into Ron Leary territory where he's kind of just name values on the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, and he might make it. But Doug Free's better than Vaitai. So literally every player on the offensive line for Dallas, if they're not already a Pro Bowl, all-pro level player, they're better than what we have on Philadelphia. So that's offensive line is night and day better for Dak Prescott. Wide receivers, night and day better for Dak Prescott. And running backs, night and day better for Dak Prescott. I think it's incredible that Carson Wentz has the stat line he does have for how bad we have helped him out, if you will, for the Philadelphia Eagles. So that is just a little breakdown. I know most of you Eagle fans didn't really need me to break that down. We know. But this is just kind of put a wrench in the whole, oh my God, let's keep trying to compare Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz. Dak Prescott is a rookie playing behind a Super Bowl caliber offensive line and a playoff caliber wide receiver core. That's it. He's a product of the environment around him. You can't hold, like I said, I gotta stress, I can't hold that against him. He didn't help where he got drafted. He didn't help that Tony Romo got hurt. He's going in there and doing his job. But it's absolutely absurd to ignore that it's not Dak Prescott. It's the team around him with a solid quarterback in Dak Prescott. Carson Wentz has nothing. We're in a complete rebuild. We have a good defense that's actually played like shit in recent weeks, but we have a good defense, and that's the only thing we have better than Dallas. We have a better defense. And hell, even then, they have a better secondary than we do. But offense, it's not even close. And that's the biggest thing, and that's how we're going to end this video, is that as Eagle fans, rather than shitting on Dallas, don't get me wrong, shit on Dallas as much as you want, but rather than shitting on Dallas for, oh, you guys got Ezekiel Elliott, oh, you guys got Dez Bryant, oh, you guys got a sick offensive line, why not try to replicate what they have done and build the way Dallas has built through the draft? That is exactly what we have to do going forward with Carson Wentz, or else these mechanics that are coming up, or else these interceptions, the turnovers, the 60 fucking passing attempt games. Those are going to regress our quarterback because he has no help around him. There's no playmaking help. I highly doubt once Lane Johnson comes back from suspension in a couple weeks, it's going to be like night and fucking day that everything's going to start clicking again. We need to get playmakers like Dallas did for their new franchise quarterback, you'd assume, in Dak Prescott. We need to get fucking playmakers for Carson Wentz, or else he's going to take the backseat. We're going to have the more talented quarterback watching the less talented quarterback with better plays around him, drive by, continually go into the playoffs. We need to address everything on offense. I'm not gonna lie, I would almost fucking clean house. Running back core, clean that shit out. Until Wendell Smallwood proves to me that he can be a 1,000-yard rusher, and I don't see that yet. I think he's solid. I think he shows some promise. I don't see a 1,000-yard rusher. I don't see Wendell Smallwood being Ezekiel Elliott at all. I don't even see Wendell Smallwood being a motherfucking Fat Rob Kelly. Jordan Matthews, solid. Wide receiver 2. Jordan Matthews is very comparable. I think I'd rather Jordan Matthews than Cole Beasley or Terrence Williams. Who else we got? No one. Absolutely no one. Gotta get even 2 wide receivers. DGB, I'd have him on the development. Maybe wide receiver 3 is a stretch. We need to get a wide receiver 1. Offensive line, Kelsey, if he can play all right, it's decent. We got Brooks, Lane Johnson, once he comes back. The right side of the offensive line is good. The left side of the offensive line worries me. Go out and get some fucking playmakers for Carson Wentz. And that is the end of this long video. If you stayed through to the end, smash that like button. But I mean, the Carson Wentz versus Dak Prescott argument, which every Eagle fan, including myself, has got involved in, it kind of needs to stop because it's not even fair. That's pretty much, they're not playing on the same playing fields, And but that does it for me today, guys. As always, it's your boy C4 saying, if this is your first time stopping by, smash that like button, leave a comment in the comment section below, keep the conversation going, and until next time, peace out.